Hello summoners and welcome back to Mobalytics, where today we have the tier list Q&A for patch 8.22. This is the last patch of the season, so let's just get into the question. Firstly, coming from YouTube, we have MC Dragonsphere wanting to know, Garen has been up there for a long time, even after the Q nerf. Why is that? The thing about Garen is just how easy he is to make work. Garen might be the most simple champion in all of League of Legends when it comes to being able to carry games. You don't have to think too hard on how you can win games with Garen. There are a lot of things about Garen that help you learn about how to play the game. Garen is not so foolproof that if you get camped, you're not going to die over and over again. Garen is not so foolproof that no matter what you do, you're just going to get fed. The thing is that his play pattern is directly related to how good you are at the game and how good your opponent is at the game. On top of him being good right now, there are so few things that you can mess up that it's the best way to teach yourself how to play the game. You can kind of think about it like this, and let us know in the comment section down below what you guys would think about a video in this fashion, where let's say we made a video, 5 champions, 1 for each role, that can help you learn how to play the game. For ADC, something like Caitlyn is a great example, where she's simple enough that if you learn how to play Caitlyn, you kind of learn how to play ADC as well. Let us know what you think of that video idea in the comment section down below. Next question coming from Cha the Boosted, why is Shaco always up there in S tier but never in pro play? Just so we can be clear and on the same page here, if your question is about why is Shaco S tier in our tier list but then he's not played in pro play, or is your question based off of because he's not played in pro play, why is he S tier? I think that your question is the second one, so I will approach it from that aspect. Just because a champion is not played or is played in pro play has absolutely no impact on our tier list whatsoever. Our tier list doesn't consider pro play even in the slightest. Professional play and solo queue are two totally different games. They are not even comparable in the same way that you could say a silver solo queue ranked game is even the same video game as a competitive 5v5 match. Although high elo solo queue is a bit more like competitive play, even certain champions in high elo still struggle in the win rate department. You see a lot of champions who are great in pro play such as Ornn who have 40 to 45% win rates. Shaco is a solo queue beast and he does nothing but carry games and snowball, and that's exactly what you want out of a solo queue jungler. He's not likely to be nerfed due to his lack of competitive play viability, and that's why we always recommend him. Just a quick question from Kellen Landry, a comment. He said, my name is Kellen too. That is all. Okay. I appreciate that, man. I like that. You got a cool name. Me too, man. I like your name. We had 2 questions this week, one from our YouTube channel and one from Instagram, from Wizard of Angmar and Alihan Sora, talking about Riven. So why is Riven placed the way that she is in high elo? Why on earth would she be S tier? It is true that Riven is played by her one tricks. That's a totally fair and reasonable thing to assume. The only thing is that there are enough games of Riven and or enough Riven players to make sure that we have enough data to suggest that she is not only good enough in high elo, but worth investing the time. For only a couple months out of the year was Riven ever really a bad champion. Typically Riven is one of the best solo queue champions year in and year out. If you think about champions like Zoe, it can kind of be hard for us to truly recommend you playing her unless you already know how to play her because she's either in the meta or out of the meta. Same thing with something like LeBlanc. Riven is a solid pick right now that does have a couple of different keystone options, so she can be versatile in that aspect, and honestly the preseason changes look better for her. An extended laning phase allows her to get that scaling up and that 1v1 that she's looking for. Our last question from YouTube this week is from Rita Rubery. Says, I want Lulu buff so badly, can you tell me why she's not on the list? Yeah, right now Lulu is not so good. There were a couple changes from the game that made this be the case. Firstly, a while ago, they nerfed the auto attack reliant ADCs with the Infinity Edge change, which makes a more aggressive favored meta. There are more mages, there are more ADCs that are supposed to kill you early game like Draven or Lucian or Misfortune, and they also nerfed her 6-second duration shield to 2.5-second duration, which is a more than half nerf on the shield. The idea for doing this was to nerf the 45% CDR perma shield spam, and that makes her harder to play and overall reduces the power of that ability since you have to time it perfectly. A lot of the ADCs she used to have synergy with before the IE changes just aren't that good anymore. You don't see at the top of our tier list like Kog'Maw, Twitch is okay, but you don't see like Ashe or Caitlyn. All these ADCs that used to be really good with Lulu just aren't that good anymore. Okay, and I like our last question this week, and there's a reason for that because kind of in the beginning of the video there were more or less questions about time investment, and I answered them in the sense of Riven and Shaco need time investment and why they're worth it, and that goes into Ricardo Fernandez's question from the blog. Don't know where to find this, but can you guys talk about the most consistent champions to play? By that I mean champions that are worth it to play long term. This season I saw that Talia, Nidalee, and Camille show a lot of that as junglers. So to answer your question, I think you're probably a jungler, which is why you brought them up, so we'll get to that in a second, but the idea of your question is very important, and we do take this into account, by the way. It's very important to us as well to make sure that we're recommending champions that make sense long term. Sometimes random things do just pop up like Victor top lane, and we basically have to put it in S tier, but honestly, a lot of the times, we just want champions that are going to be consistent over several different patches. I think a great example of this season is a champion like Kled. There is a guy in NA Challenger named Soul Mario who has been Challenger the entire season on Kled, and nobody else really plays him. People just refuse to play Kled. I think the champion has been S or A tier for us the entire season. He's been good with Press the Attack, Conqueror, even Grasp. He's good with everything. As far as jungle champions, let's be fair to you, we'll give you a couple of champions since I probably think you are a jungler. Right now, we think that champions that are consistent and have been good for most of the season in the jungle role and rarely fall out are things like Talia, Shaco, Xin Zhao, Rengar, Camille, and Graves. More or less, these champions are always going to be in the meta, and it's rare that all of a sudden, Shaco is just a terrible solo queue jungler. He will have metas that he will be worse in, but more or less these champions are just good consistently in solo queue, in and out of the season. Same thing with like Riven we were talking about before. I think that this is a very interesting topic, and it's something that I'd like to make a video about in the future, like consistent, all-in-all solo queue champions that are going to be good every single patch for the most part, so let us know if you want to see that video as well. Anyway, this has been the patch 8.22 tier list Q&A video. Make sure you leave a comment down below what you thought of this video, and check out the tier list if you missed it from this week. Thanks for watching, and use the product at mobalytics.gg.